it doesn't get executed. Do you have a question?
Yeah, on the blank form, you said put the name of the organization and such. Do you also want to have your name and social security number in case it gets, separated from the...
Oh yeah, what I'm saying is, the question is, on the blank form, you should put the same header information on the blank form. So your social security number, your name, your agency code, unit code, and PCFD if it's in blocks 5. Yes, the exact header information on the blank piece of paper. So if they somehow got separated, they could be reunited. That was a song, wasn't it? Reunited, yes. And don't staple over the information on the top. Yes, sir.
The write-in ones, they're paid also through the same system?
Correct. The question was, do the write-ins get paid through the same disbursement system? Yes. They're just like any other nonprofit. It's just that they weren't in the resource guide.
Right, so it's not going to be a bunch
So they wouldn't have a code to give them, because these are all that have submitted to United Way to get into the donor guide. But if they're not in the guide and they're a bona fide 501c3, you can give to them.
I'm going to be helping a friend of mine who runs a nonprofit. Get listed.
Sure. We certainly encourage people to submit, and there's a process, and they can just contact their local United Way about how to get into the guide. But they don't have to be. Okay, so a common mistake is, all right, so at the top part, they're taking out. Let's say they're taking out $20 from and the state controller take out $20. Brand new, change, whatever. Down below, they designated $25. What is that? That's a big error. Right? Ask any bank. You write a check for $25 and you got $20 in your account, that check bounces or you're paying overdraft fees. You can't pay out more than you're taking out, right? So if you're taking out $20, you have to pay out $20 or less. Now let's do the reverse of that. Let's say you're taking out $20, but you designate $15 down here. Is that a mistake? Not necessarily. What happens to the other $5? It goes to the general fund of the United Way. So if they take out 20 and they designate 3 organizations at $5 each, that's $15. The other $5 will go to whatever the general fund of whatever PCFD they've designated. Is that clear to everyone? My suggestion is, if you see that, go back to the person and just say, was that your intent? Did you really intend for $15 to go to the organizations and $5 to the general fund? And I've done that, and they go, yes. And I go, do you want to be a key campaigner next year? That's very intelligent. And then, oh, I just made a mistake. That wasn't my intent. And then they correct it, whatever it is. But you can't pay out more than you take out. But you can pay out less designated than you take out, and then the other money goes to the general fund. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry?
Couldn't you just add up the totals for the amount they want to take out here, but then from Part B, when it's changed by existing deduction, can you just add up all the totals together?
I'm sorry, I'm not understanding.
What is the $15 from here, right? You're saying on this part?
I'm saying if you can't, I'm saying if whatever amount is up here that they take out in a deduction, whether it's a brand new one, you changed it, that amount can't be less than what you're paying out down below.
Okay.
So if you're taking out $20 for a payroll deduction, you can't pay out $25 because you've only taken out $20 in the payroll deduction. You can't designate $25 to be paid to organizations if you're only taking out $20 in a deduction. But the reverse, if you're taking out $25 in a payroll deduction, but you've only designated $20 down here to say 4 nonprofits, that other $5 will go to the general fund of that United Way. Is that clear? Okay. And I just say, if you see that, it's just a good idea to go back and say, was that your intent? Because it's just sort of $5 that's not accounted for in that example. Okay. Are we cool with that? Everybody got that? All right. So then next, box J. is, and sorry, I'm putting my eyeballs in. I wish to have the PCFD acknowledge my donation. If they want the nonprofit to be told that they're giving them funds, they would check box J and write in the information, their address, email. We certainly encourage email address to go greening. And the PCFD that they've designated will in fact let that nonprofit or nonprofits know that you're giving and how much you're giving. What will happen is that United Way, you will get a letter from United Way thanking you for your contributions and listing the organization or organizations you're giving to and how much. And I think that's a yearly amount they put on. I got my letter. What may or may not happen, and this is important for you to communicate, if they check box J, you will get, theoretically, you will get a letter from United Way. You may or may not get letters from the nonprofits. It's not a guarantee. And here's why. Nonprofits make decisions on how they spend their money, right? Do I spend my money writing thank you letters, or do I spend my money delivering service? Letters, service. Right? It's a business choice on their part. And you know, the 3 organizations I give to, I get a letter from one of them. Am I disappointed? No, I understand. I've gotten my concurrence letter from United Way saying it's going there. But you may or may not get an actual, and this is important for you to tell people because they may be looking for a letter.
Is it just a letter back to the donor, or is it a letter from PCFD to the charity?
The question is, basically, where does the letter come from? Let me repeat that. If you check box J, say, I want to be acknowledged, the PCFD will send a letter to the nonprofit or nonprofits you've designated. They will get a letter saying that Michael Summers is donating X dollars to your organization through CSECC. And United Way, that PCFD will send me a letter thanking me and acknowledging my contributions, and I've gotten those letters. What may or may not happen is the actual recipient nonprofit may or may not send me a letter saying thank you for your contribution. Is that clear? No, I wouldn't downplay the importance. Just understand that the nonprofit will be told, they know that, and they will get acknowledgement from the nonprofit, but they may or may not just get a thank you letter from the nonprofit directly to them.
And they will for sure, the donor, if they check.
Jay.
Will get an acknowledgement from the PCFD listing what designated
Yes.
charities they.
The question is, if you check box J, you will, and I did. I get my letter from United Way, Sacramento region, saying I give to this organization, this amount, this organization, this amount, this organization, this amount. Yes?
You get that in your tax time, you get the receipt for donation that you can deduct from your tax. You get something at the end of the year, tax time.
Well, the question is, do you get something at tax time? If you don't check box J, you will not get a letter back from United Way saying you designate. The other thing is, though, on your check stub, under the deductions, it says charitable contributions, and it gives the total amount that you give. So on your check stub, you have verification that you're giving, and you can use that for income tax purposes.
I think it was on the W-2 that it showed up somewhere. I remember seeing the actual amount.
Like I said, it shows up every month on your check stub. No, the question is the deduction pre-tax? No, it's post-tax. If it were pre-tax, it wouldn't be tax deductible. If it's taken off the top before you're taxed, it wouldn't be tax deductible. So your amount is taxed. It's taxed as part of your broader taxation. And that's why it allows you to then use it as a tax deduction. Yes, ma'am.
What if you're making a donation to a nonprofit and someone's deceased? In memory of, will they contact the family?
The question is, if you're making a donation in somebody's memory, that's a good question. I don't know. I'm not aware of anything through the campaign. I mean, you might be able to in the designation.
It says down here at J, the first names for recognition is different than
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose you could say in memory of and write in the name. Yeah, you could do that. Your name in memory of so-and-so. And then theoretically, that information would be transmitted to the nonprofit. Okay. So that's J, the acknowledgement. Is that clear? Oops, went too far. Then we have K. I authorize the PCFT to distribute. So again, that's a separate signature below. If they signed at the top to the state controller, but then they designate or they want to be acknowledged, then they must sign on K. Remember, 2 different forms, 2 different entities, 2 different authorizations. Now we have a couple of boxes that were added last year. L is I have been giving since. If a person's been giving for 10 years or more, they're considered a loyal contributor. So they can write in, I've been giving since what year. It's self-reported, nobody confirms it. And if they've been giving for 10 years or more, there's an area on the website that's called a loyal contributor, and their name will be added there. So it's an acknowledgement. And then M, I currently volunteer. There's an interest at the state of understanding how many state workers are volunteering. Remember, 1 hour of volunteer work, $22 worth of value. So if they check M, then we will key enter that information. And then on the back of the form is the instructions and the 29 PCFDs. Okay, any other questions relative to the form? All right, we're going to go back to the PowerPoint. Oops. Try doing this without my glasses. So in your packet, you have 2 stacks of forms. Oh, see, there is a thicker one and a thinner one. If you pull out the thicker one, it says T. arambula. T. arambula. Everybody have that? Okay. I'm just going to quickly go through these because these highlight all the various transactions and kind of combinations and permutations of what we just talked about. So in the first one, she's checked box A, new payroll deduction, $20. Where will this money go? General fund, because she did not designate, and she wanted to be acknowledged. All right, if you turn over, on the back side, we went back to back. New payroll deduction, $10. Where is this money going? Right, she's designated, nonprofit A, B, C, and D, E, F. And she wants to be acknowledged, and she also checked that she's a volunteer. So we will key enter that. Let's go to the next one. A new payroll deduction, $20. Where is this money going? A write-in. So write-in ABC wasn't in the book, but it's a bona fide, presumably a bona fide 501c3, and she wanted to be acknowledged. Okay, what is she doing in the next one? She's changing her deduction, the amount, up or down. $20, where is that money going? General fund. Now here is an example. I would say if you saw this form, again, because she might have been thinking, oh, I've designated and it'll automatically go to those organizations. This would be another one. I'd go back and ask her, did you really intend for your money to go to the general fund? Because she might have been giving to others, but if she's changed the amount, if it was $10 and now it's $20, the PCFD wouldn't know how to divide up that money. It's now $20, not $10. So it's always good if they don't designate and they change their amount, I just go back and ask them, is that what your intent? So let's go to the next one. She's changing her amount, $20, where is that money going? Yeah, now she's redesignated. So it's just, again, that's one of those cases where I'd go back and make sure that their intent is clear. The next one, what is she doing? She's deleting. Is this a correct instruction? Correct. Yes, she got her SSN. Box 5 has a 3-digit code, and she signed it. So we can execute her deletion. We'll have a tier or two, but we will execute it. Okay, what is she doing in the next one? She's declining. Right. Is this a correct instruction? Yes, it is, because there are 3 X's in box 5. She's not currently giving. She doesn't want to. That's fine. All right, the next one, what is she doing? Changing her PCFD from 004 to 024. And she's checked $10. Where will this money go? General fund. Again, I would go back in this case and just double check, is that what you wanted? What is she doing in the next one? Changing my PCFD, $10. Where is this money going? Nonprofit, she redesignated. So you seeing these things? Are they coming to light? The next one, what is she doing? Straight continuing. She didn't redesignate in the bottom, so literally whatever the current instruction is what will carry over. All right, what's she doing in the next one?
Question.
Yes, question.
On this one, the continue, no change.
Right.
So she's checked E, she's continuing, she signed it. She doesn't need her social security if she's continuing.
Yeah, the question is, in this example, this is a straight continue, box E, there's no redesignation below. She did sign it, and literally she did not even need to sign it.
Okay.
She doesn't need a social security number. Literally, this form will just get tossed.
I see, okay.
Because it's just a straight, everything is the same. There's absolutely no change. Now, we like for you to get the forms back. Remember, 100% ask. Try and get 100% so you know exactly what their intent is. And, but yeah, it doesn't require an SSN, or she didn't have to sign. So, and then, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Is L new? You said that.
Box, yeah, the question is L new? L and M were new as of last year. About the loyal contributor and I'm a volunteer. Those were added last year. Okay, so then in the next one, she's continuing, and what happens with her money? Yeah, she's redesignated, nonprofit A, B, C, D, E, F. And again, if you don't see a redesignation, I'd go back and just make sure it's clear, because the money's going to go to the general fund. And she wanted to be acknowledged, and she's a loyal contributor, and she volunteered. Okay, what's she doing in the next one? One-time gift of $100. And where will that go? General fund. And again, I would just go back. The check should have been made out to CSECC. I would just validate, did you want it to go to just general fund? So the question is, the Social Security number is not required. This is not a payroll deduction. So this is a one-time gift is not an instruction to the state controller. It's just really an instruction to the PCFD about where to send my money, either general fund or a designated nonprofit. Yes, sir.
If they have a PCFD and they also have designations, can they still just add a one-time?
The question is, if they're currently giving, or if they want to start a brand new payroll deduction, can they also do a one-time gift? The answer is yes. They can do either or both. But yeah, they are separate transactions. And you remember the chart, follow the money chart, you can see where the money flows. Okay? Good question. So on the next one, what is she doing? One-time gift of $150, and where is that money going? Nonprofit ABC, she designated. All right. So does that give you fairly comfortable with the form, the common mistakes? Yes. Yes. The question is, basically, can they find out what they're currently giving? And the answer is yes. In a couple of minutes, I'm going to give you a phone number. It's a 1-800 number. It's a donor hotline where they can call and find out how much they're giving, to whom they're giving, and how much per organization.
If they forgot just the number too, they could always look at their paychecks.
Yeah, the question is that you can always look at your pay stub. The pay stub will give you a total amount, the total monthly deduction. It won't tell you what organizations or how much per organization. But you can call this donor hotline. You'll see it in just a couple minutes. The other thing that you have, which we're not going to go ahead and go through, there's a 4-page. The skinnier one, there's 4 back-to-back. Each one of these has at least one or multiple errors. So you can take it back to your desk and just kind of walk through it. So just quickly, on the very first one, that's L. Skywalker. What's the error on this one? No signature. Right? It's a brand new payroll deduction. They got an SSN, but no signature. Anyhow, you can look at the other couple. But do you feel fairly comfortable with the form now? Okay. We beat this one up. All right. Retired employees. If somebody has already retired, you can simply write retired across the form and turn it in. Now, the other question that comes up is that can a retired person participate? The answer is yes, but it's a different system. When they retire, the state controller no longer pays them, and so the deduction automatically stops because they don't get a paycheck. But what happens is, if they want to continue, they must re-up. In the Resource Donor Guide, there is a form. Are you retiring? The form is very similar to the CSECC pledge form. It has all the same options. They complete that form, they send it in, it comes to the local United Way, it gets processed, and then the information gets forwarded to CalPERS. And the person will continue in their retired state. Completing the form. It's a single form. So if they want a copy, you just simply make a copy. But again, their contributions come out on their check stub. And here's the donor hotline, the 1-888-863-6466. They could call that number, and they'll get a live body, and they can look up their record. All right? And it's also on your... And most importantly, make sure that the pledge forms are secured. Never leave, especially one with an SSN on it. Never leave it out on the top of your desk. Make sure they're always secured. These are just some different options and responses. You can read them, but it's all the things we've covered about, does $5 do much? I can give to my own charities. So here's cash handling. As I mentioned, this is a two-step process, and this is what we ask you to follow. You are likely to get checks or cash. What you should do is to count whatever it is you have in front of the person that's giving you. If it's cash, you count the cash. If it's a check or checks, you validate the amounts, and then validate that the amount, whatever they've given you, is equal to the amount on the pledge form as a one-time donation. You take the pledge form and the check and or cash, you put them in an envelope. You seal that envelope, and you should write the amount across the envelope, and you both sign across the seal. So that, in essence, is like your receipt. All right, so you count it in front of each other, validate the form, put it in an envelope, seal it, put the amount, and you both sign. What happens in this case, when the campaign liaison comes, in your case, Jeff, they will basically do the opposite with the campaign chair. They will open the envelope, they will recount the cash and or the checks, validate the amount that's on the form, and then Jeff will write a receipt and hand that over to the campaign chair, and then take the money with him, and we'll process it back at the United Way office. Is that clear? Pretty straightforward. But that ensures the accountability of, especially cash, not that anybody in here would do anything wrong, but just a check you can follow, but you can't, there's no accountability other than doing this process. So we ask you that you follow this. Remember I mentioned resources. If you haven't been on the CSECC website, I highly encourage you. They just updated it last year. It's way cool. Anybody been on the website yet? Some of you, yeah? Yes. All the training materials, the pledge form can be downloaded. The resource guide is online. There's testimonials. This training video today will soon be on the website. There's just a wealth of information and everything you need to know about the campaign. It's just a great resource. So, do we have any other questions at this point? Yes, ma'am.
Is there any problem if you choose the Sacramento United Way, but one of your write-in 501c3 charities is not in the greater Sacramento area?
Good question. The question is, and it really is generic. If you pick a United Way, like in your local area, like in Sacramento, but your nonprofit's in Louisiana, is that okay? Absolutely. You can pick any of the 29 PCFDs, and they will distribute your monies to any nonprofit in the country. Yes, sir.
No, okay. I was going to ask you a question. Is the on the website is the list of the local organizations? Is that in there?
You talking about the PCFDs?
The charities themselves.
Yeah, the Resource Donor Guide is online.
That's on
Yeah.
CSECC.org?
Yes.
Okay.
The pledge form's online. It can be downloaded. The Resource Donor Guide with all the nonprofits listed, with the retirement You know, the retiree fund, or a pledge form, everything that's in this booklet is online.
Will the key campaigners get at least one form to keep at their desk?
Do you, the question, are you talking about blank forms?
No, that book you're looking at now, that has all the 401cs in it.
Oh, the question is, will key campaigners get a resource donor guide? Yeah. Well, I don't know if you're all going to get at least, you will have an X number of the pledge forms, blank forms, and resource donor guides will be distributed to your campaign chair, and it'll be kind of up to them to decide, but you should have access to that information, yes. Other questions? So I mentioned my information, and I'm going to repeat, this is really for the Sacramento region. But this is my information. Jeff McLennan is your direct campaign liaison. Either one of us can be contacted. We work very well as a team. If you have any questions, you would like us to be somewhere to do a presentation, do not hesitate to call us. Especially when you start getting forms in, there's going to be some weird wrinkles of things that you may not be able to figure out. We're here to help you in any way that we can. So with that in mind, to conclude, we've kind of come full circle. We talked about the value of nonprofits, taking $1, turning it into $10 to $20 worth of value. We talked about running an educational campaign and why CSECC is a great option. You know, I've tried to fuel you today with lots of little gold nuggets. And remember, I showed you a template of how you can actually run your educational session in 1 hour. Remember that template I gave you? You know, have someone come in to open the thing up, bring in a nonprofit. They'll take 10 to 15 minutes, go over the campaign gold nuggets, why CSECC is a good way, and walk them through the form. That's the best way. You can do that really in about an hour's time. And that, therefore, the nonprofits that provide such great value to our communities, that CSECC really is that bridge, and a very efficient and effective bridge. So with that in mind, are there any final questions? As I started to say thank you, I want to close with saying thank you and good luck to you. This is a noble cause. Again, remember, when somebody fills out this little form, this little piece of paper, somebody's life is going to be changed, and you can be a bridge to that yourself. Thank you, everyone. Good luck to you.